All right, welcome back. So, after categorizing transactions, whether individually categorizing or categorizing using rules, the next part of the accounting workflow is really the what we call the reconcile and sync. So, or the reviewer. So, we look at categorization as preparer, and then we look at reconcile and sync as reviewer. The first time that you try to go to that reconcile and sync section, you land in this accounting tab where there's a setup screen. Now it gives you two options of how to start in Bitwave with your accounting. One is to catch up, categorize, and reconcile all existing transactions. Now this is what the majority of our clients use. And it's pretty straightforward. It's basically saying all your data from sort of as early as you've plugged it in, we're going to end up categorizing it, figuring out cost basis, and going forward with that. The second option here is export a starting balance to your accounting system as of a given date and mark everything prior to that as reconciled. So what this does is it kind of establishes a start date from which you'll start accounting in Bitwave. You send the starting balance into your accounting system and then go from there. I would suggest that if you're thinking of this second option, you should probably reach out to our team and let's have a discussion around it, because there's a variety of other ways to think about this. But if you're thinking about the first option, which is really to catch up and categorize, this is the most flexible because we're also able to ignore certain things or even still within that start on a certain date. So this is the most straightforward. This one is a bit more involved. And if you plan to do this, let's have a discussion around it. So let's go from there. So if we select this first option, which is pretty straightforward, and hit next, it'll give a message here and you can click finish and accounting setup is complete. Now it still shows the screen here, but if you actually leave the screen or really refresh, then now, as you can see, it takes you to the reconcile and sync screen. Now what you'll notice here is that it is showing all the transactions that have been categorized only is what shows up here, because those are prepared and are ready to be reviewed and synced to your ERP. Now, it's important to remember that what you are doing here is effectively syncing to your ERP, posting to your GL. You can think of it that way, right? So again, we have the date filters just like we have in the transaction screen. So everything before a certain date. So in this case, perhaps I will use my typical 2020 date, October 31st, and that'll filter just to anything categorized before that date. And this is all of that. Now I can choose to select all of these and hit reconcile and sync, and that's the moment it pushes into my ERP, in this case 0, or I can select one of them or a couple of them and do that. So why don't we go ahead and do this? I'll select a couple of these. I'm going to go ahead and click reconcile and sync. Again, this is going to push this into 0. And successfully reconciled and synced 2 transactions. Now, what I've gone ahead and done is I've gone into 0 and I've gone into a couple places. So first, the balance sheet, and I've filtered for my dates, and you can see my transactions have populated in there. So the received money, a debit, you can see that it also hits the income statement, sales, and this one hits the expenses, and it's a credit to that digital asset account. If you go to the income statement, you can kind of see the activity. That's the sales there. That's the crypto fees expenses there. So you can see it populates right into ERP almost instantaneously, and I can go back and obviously add more to it, reconcile more transactions. But that is essentially the reconcile and sync. So those transactions are gone and into the ERP for you. And that's a wrap up for that section.